Welcome to Raising Consciousness with me, Lou Burrows, where raising human consciousness happens. On this show, I'm joined by guests to cover a range of topics and have conversations that will raise human consciousness for current and future generations. Now, let's dive into today's show. Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Raising Consciousness. Today we are joined by my good friend Karon. Karon, thank you so much for joining me today. How's your day going?
Day's good, man. Day's good. Started off with training somebody, and they felt some good stuff. So that's always a good start to the day.
So that brings me in nicely into what you actually do. So you are a online coach who specializes in spine health and
Mhm.
core strength. So yeah, talk to us like a bit about that and how you got into that work and basically who you are before we dive into the meat of the episode.
Yeah, sure, man. So I am working basically with a company called Flobility, and we specialize in spine health, as you said, and core training. Our whole thing is learning how to basically remove the dependency in the middle of the low back. So you could think when you move your arm, you move your leg, when you move your arms, you move your legs, anything that's basically attached to the middle of your body, we need what's called core stability. So meaning that the ribcage and pelvis stay aligned when we move our arms and our legs so that basically our low back doesn't become our arms and our legs. So every time we want to basically move something, there needs to be stillness just at the middle of the low back before we try to move an arm or move a leg, because that'll actually require the muscles around and throughout this area to actually move. Because if we don't have that stability and the middle of the spine moves, we're essentially teaching the brain to use that area, the middle of the low back, as the arm, as the leg. So like when you pick your knee up really high and your low back kind of does that, or when you do a squat and your butt winks, right? Those are examples of basically your low back being your hip. So we were basically removing a dependency, and it creates insane strength. It creates insane stability. It creates just a much more healthier lifestyle, because it allows a lot of the people that come to us are active. They like to move. They like to go hiking. They like to bike. They like to do basically activity, and they're very excited to do those activities. But because of things like pain, discomfort, lack of mobility, lack of strength, they're unable to partake in those activities. So what we do is we basically help them get back to doing what they love without the fear of their body basically biting back at them. You know, how many times have someone said like, "Hey, let's go do this," and then someone else responds, "Oh, I would, but like, my knee's been acting up or my back's been acting up. I'm not sure my knees or my back can handle that. I'm not sure that I can do that because I think my knee is going to get shot or something like that." It happens very often, and we talk about these things like it's like normal, like it's commonplace, like,
Mm.
oh yeah, that's supposed to happen. When in reality, we're designed to move. We are very active beings by nature. Movement is a huge part of our physiology. It's a huge part of our biology. It's everything. So if we're limiting our ability to move, if we are limited in our ability to move, it's tough to be our full selves. And I've seen bigger than just the aesthetics and body compositional changes. I've seen people come back to confidence, like they feel like they've gained a part of themselves that they lost at relatively young ages. I'm working with someone who's 31. He was very, very active. He was, football captain. He was doing track. He was doing all types of activities. But as he got a little bit older, he was unable to continue those activities because of all his injuries and all the issues that he was having. And he's basically now back to doing what he loves. So it is a multi-dimensional wellness endeavor that we're tackling. It's not just about like small waist, big glutes, big upper back, whatever. It's about creating an environment where you can really use your body the way you want. A lot of people feel like they cannot use their body. A lot of people don't know what their body is. They have no idea what's going on inside of this thing that we walk around in all day. They're very unaware of what's happening inside their own body. And it can almost feel trapping. A lot of people that I've worked with have felt trapped. Like they feel like no matter what I do, no matter what system I try, no matter what modality I try, no matter what PT or role, anything, nothing sticks, and our stuff sticks.
So one thing you mentioned there was, if people have like, knee pain or just aches and pains in general, does from your experience, does a lot of that come back to the core then in the work that you do? So a lot of aches and pains that people have can be solved in that through this type of training?
Yeah, I mean, so pain itself is a very complex topic because it's not
Mm,
just physical pain, right? The brain receives pain the same way as threat. So if a particularly traumatic event occurred in your life, you can manifest that as physical, mental, emotional. You know, that trauma, it quite literally kind of latches on to you. And there's a physical manifestation of that trauma that I've seen. Like I've had clients cry in sessions, like not from like being sad. Like they'll just really go hard and feel something crazy. And they were just like, wow, they literally just start crying. So it's like it's a very, very deep thing that we're basically attacking because pain itself is the only way that the brain can directly communicate with you in the sense of it saying, "Hey, something's wrong. Like you need to address this. Like, hey, something's wrong." And chronic pain becomes to the point where it's told you so many times, and now it's like used to telling you. So think about it like this. There are certain things in this world that are confusing. The perception of what we experience is not necessarily the reality. So just because you feel pain in an area does not mean, or it may mean, that there's actual damage in that area. So basically, you could feel like, okay, this part of my body hurts, but there may be no actual tissue damage because the brain is basically used to sending that signal over and over and over and over and over again. And until the central issue is addressed, being that alignment I talked about earlier, it's going to basically keep sending that signal over time. And there's things we can do to make you feel better. There's short term things that we can do, like soft tissue work. There's certain exercise that you could do to address the one spot. But when it comes to actually the holistic approach of like, hey, I want to actually like never really worry about that again, we have to look at the macro, is look at everything and how everything is impacted. And that's the power of what we do. So yes, pain is complex, but it comes down to the very, very bare minimum, the very basic interpretation of pain is that, hey, like your brain's like, yo, there's something wrong here. You gotta look at this. And when we don't know how to address it or we ignore it, that's when it becomes over time, not everybody, but over time, some people develop chronic pain, which is, a tough journey. And I've worked with a lot of clients with chronic pain and helped them through it.
Yeah, absolutely. So flow, I think, as you call it, yeah. Like for me, like when we first spoke about it, actually, I think it was a couple of years ago. Like maybe when we done the original podcast episode on a different show that I was doing, and then obviously for following your journey on Instagram and stuff. Um, yeah, it's like amazing on like the transformation that people go through. But like, I think to myself, like if we hadn't connected, I would have no idea like this existed, right? Because it's not necessarily something that's like in the mainstream. People when they talk about health and fitness, staying fit, healthy, etc., well-being, they talk about the gym, they talk about cardio, they don't talk about this type of training or yoga or kind of all these other types of practices.
Right.
Why do you think that is? I know that obviously you guys are doing such a great job to get this message out there, and like how can we
Thanks.
encourage more people to work in this way, if that makes sense, and to practice this?
Yeah, for sure. So what we do is training. It's exercise, but it's like this is a variable that none of us considered. I mean, I didn't make this up. Person who taught me this didn't make this up. We both he learned from somebody else, then he taught me what he learned. So it's a pass down of art. This system is art, an art form that was developed by probably the smartest person I've ever known. And I don't know him, but my point is that I've met him a few times and we've talked, and the way he talks is like, it's very philosophical. Like he's like a sage. But the idea behind this is that it's just a variable that you can plug into whatever you're doing. There's many routes, there's many possibilities, there's many ways to use this system in your life. However, if you're just someone who wants to get back to their activity, that you want to lift weights, you want to do cardio, like you said, you want to go to the gym, this is simply a variable to insert into your life the same way you would insert bands or the same way you would insert anything else. It is simply something that was not considered. And now it's like, hey, just insert this into your life and just see what happens. It's astounding. We have power lifters, people doing weight training. You have people doing bodybuilding. You have people doing CrossFit. You have all different types of people doing this training. Still in their concentrations primarily, but they've just inserted this variable and they've seen astounding results in their own modality. This is the one variable that can be inserted literally anywhere. And literally 30, 45 minutes a day, 3 times a week, it doesn't matter. Some type of intervention with this program is so powerful because we are attacking the nervous system. We are improving the efficiency of it because we're attacking the center of the displacement between the rib cage and pelvis. When that area is aligned, it creates freedom in the arms and legs. Because when this area is quite mobile, it literally pulls everything tighter. What are the
Mm.
besides, back tightness, the main things people complain about? My shoulders feel tight, my hips feel tight, my neck feels tight. Like all these areas surrounding
Mm.
the middle of the body are simply
Makes sense.
responding. Yeah, they're simply responding to the instability that's housed at the middle. When that area is improved, everything changes.
You kind of touched upon it there because I was going to ask, like, okay, then, so how would one implement this into what they're currently doing? And you kind of said there, like, 30 minutes a day, 3 times a week. Like, is this something that is that what you recommend for, somebody who's maybe just listen to this podcast, or does it depend on? I suppose it depends on like their goals and what they want to get out from it a bit as well. Obviously, I've recently joined Flow and have the app and going through it, and there's a workout there every day and stuff. So, yeah, what would be your recommendation for people to just get started?
Yeah, so I mean, it's certainly a dose relationship in my experience. So the more you do, the better. But the minimum effective dose I've seen, like I said, 30 to 45 minutes at least 3 or 4 times a week seems to be the minimal effective dose. But this is something you can do before you go lift, something you can do before you go run, before you play sports. Like it's your you can use it as a warm up, if you will. And that's basically the easiest way to insert it, no matter what you want to do. Because improving your core stability changes everything. It literally improves everything. Doesn't matter what you're doing. Improving your core stability improves literally everything.
Why do you think like this isn't something that gets talked about? Because as I mentioned before, I've only come across this because we're connected. Like it
Yeah.
wasn't something that was getting talked about. Like, yeah, I kind of think of it as like the mainstream, type of thing to do. So is that just like education, like a lack of education in that? Like, what's your kind of thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, speaking as someone who was taught this and still being taught this and did something different before, it's not that the education necessarily isn't out there. Like the literature is there, the knowledge is out there. It just hasn't been pieced together and applied the way that we're applying it. And again, I didn't make this, just making that very clear. I'm a humble student. But the point is that the application is the biggest piece that's different with us. There's nobody out there that applies it the way we do, that applies the knowledge of core stability, the rib cage pelvis alignment, core training, anything about the core. Like there's no one out there that does it the way we do. Obviously, besides the person who taught me. So it's not that necessarily the education is not out there. It's about the application. Like most people, when they think of core training, they think, okay, I need to smash my lower back into the floor. I need to tuck my pelvis under me and make sure my belly button is pressed into my spine. It's that when people think of core training. However, your core is not a physical bracing mechanism in the sense of you can't like squeeze your core like you can squeeze a bicep, or like you can squeeze your chest, or squeeze your butt. It's very different. It isn't the deep intrinsic core is something that is only managed really from your breath. after we establish the position of the rib cage and pelvis coming closer together, and you'll learn about it. The exhale is what basically creates that brace,
Mhm.
which is again not something you're like, okay, I'm gonna brace my core. It's something that you must create as a result of exhaling. And the inhale eventually becomes the other side of that stability. So whether we're inhaling or exhaling, this remains intact. That's again, that takes time. But also a lot of it is, people don't, and I can't generalize, but from my experience, if I told somebody to do some of the things that are required to actually improve these things, not everybody's game for that. Not everybody wants to do that. They want to go, get bigger arms. They want to get bigger legs. They want to, work on their chest, more of the superficial musculature. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with wanting to do that. It's just if you want to improve your core, like you got to do this. Like
Mm.
this is the way. And if you want to actually create a synchronization with your body so that you can then go do whatever you want without, again, fear of the body biting back or anything like that. That's how you create the foundation of health. We start here. We start here.
Mm.
And then you can, literally branch out and do whatever you want. The possibilities are quite literally endless once you learn how to truly create core stability.
Amazing. One thing I did want to ask you was, so with like some of the modern day lifestyle, of people at desks and those types of jobs, and as you mentioned before, like our bodies are meant to move. Yeah, like I think my question here: are there certain, I don't know, chairs that we should be sitting on? Because I like, for me, like I've had bad necks before, and actually I felt like certain chairs and positions that I've kind of put my body in makes it worse. I'm just kind of thinking with that sort of lifestyle of people in cubicles at desks and or recently working at home. Does that make sense?
Of course, of course.
Yeah.
Um, and that's unavoidable. That's
Mm.
completely unavoidable. With the way our society works nowadays, most of our occupations require high amounts of sedentary time
Mm.
where we're sitting kind of how, you and I right now are sitting in front of our tables and our desk and everything and either typing or we're doing meetings or whatever. That's, it's unavoidable for me to tell you, you shouldn't be sitting all like, it's like, come on, like every job requires me to sit. If I want to create my edits on Instagram, I have to sit down and do it for an hour or two. If I want to play video games, I got to sit down and do it. If I want to talk to you or talk to anybody in a Zoom call or anything like that, I have to sit down and do it. Now, of course, there's standing desks and everything, but just because you're standing, it doesn't make it any better than sitting. Because if your body is if your brain it has the idea of where your stability point is, being that low back where you sit like this, you're gonna stand like that. So it's like it doesn't the position itself is not the important factor. It is what is managing the position, what muscles are actually holding the bones up in space in that orientation for us to actually use what we want to use.
Mm.
Because muscles are moving joints and bones. Your bones don't move, they're being moved by the
Yeah.
musculature. So you never actually like the humerus and the femur, they don't move. They're being moved by all the tissue surrounding
Mm.
them. So when we teach the tissue surrounding them to move better together, it translates to everything. So I haven't thought about how I'm sitting since I started this podcast. I'm just talking to you. And
Mm.
I haven't felt low back pain or knee, any of that stuff in a long time because and I'm still going. I'm not done. There's way more for me to work on. However, where I'm at right now, all those issues have been addressed because of how I train my body when I'm not sitting, how I'm thinking about things throughout the day. And you'll learn about your SIP through the program. But the easiest thing to do, especially if you find it unavoidable, and you have to sit down, find your sit bones, learn what your sit bones are. Are just come in our program, try it for a month. If you hate it, you can just cancel. You won't, but just try it. It's we it's mind blowing how
Mm.
this stuff impacts you and how it's so applicable to your daily life. We literally teach you how to sit in the program. Like we quite literally teach you how to sit in the program. And we show you how to like use your body, use your hips, use your core to manage your like in space when you're sitting. Like the very thing that many people say is the new smoking, we show you how to actually make better. We show you how to adapt to this technological age as opposed to running away from it. We show you, okay, you have to be here. How are you going to live in this space? We show you exactly how to. So it's about adapting. We're teaching you how to adapt and evolve your being to be in the space that we're all forced to be in. We're forced to do this all day. We are forced to do this all day. So why not be really good at those positions? Why not be really good at the things that we're going to have to do all day anyway? And why not get really good at doing this so that when I get up and sprint, I'm using the same musculature. When I jump, when I play ball, when I play tennis, when I swim, it's universal. How you bend over and tie your shoes is the same way you're going to set up for a deadlift. How you sit in the chair is the same way you're going to squat. It's all the same. There's no difference. There's no difference. Your brain doesn't see sitting versus standing versus all these other things as different in terms of, okay, he's standing now. I mean, no, it's simply reacting to a lot of things, but the whole idea is that it's all very, very similar. So we're teaching you how to apply yourself in a space of anything, no matter what you're doing, the human body will be prepared for it. But simple tips that you can apply if you are someone who has to sit at a desk all day: buy a lacrosse ball, learn soft tissue work. We have a bunch of soft tissue work in our program and on our YouTube as well. So you want to start there. Just learn what soft tissue work is. Rolling your glute medius. They're basically, we refer to them as the top butt. Basically, you have the glute max, which is the main butt that everyone thinks about. And then right above that on the sides, if you think about the pelvis is like a kind of like a butterfly, they kind of come around like that, and the sacrum's in the middle. The top butts are like right here. So roll those a lot. Because when most people sit, they kind of sit like this, sunken, and that actually, it stretches those out and they get used to stretching. And then because they're used to stretching like that, when you stand up, they just go into the other extreme. So we learn to live in the extremes as opposed to finding the middle. Excuse me. So just rolling those out for 2-3 minutes at a time is a really great way to help moderate pain. Rolling those out, rolling your erectors out, which are going to be your spinal erectors that run up and down the spine, basically from the base of your skull to your tailbone. Those are another great thing to roll out. Your groin, like soft tissue work is one of the easiest ways to manage pain. You just have to approach it with the mindset of, I'm trying to relax. And I used to do this myself when I used to go to the gym and I would do rolling, like on the foam roller. I would try to make it hurt so much. And I would be sitting there wincing in pain, like, it hurts so bad, it hurts so bad. Like, like freaking closing my eyes, like bracing my body. And that's not really helping. With soft tissue work, we're trying to get the musculature to relax. A lot of these areas that we feel are tight are literally holding on for dear life. Muscle is supposed to be soft and malleable. It shouldn't be as hard as a desk. So if you're feeling something and it's hard and it doesn't move, that's telling you that there's an issue there. So after some soft tissue work for 2 to 3 minutes, you'll start to feel the muscle kind of feel more loose, if you will, because it's basically trapped in one position. So the soft tissue work is the first step to getting that muscle to actually move more. Because a lot of the muscles that we walk around in before we start our program, they don't really move much. A lot of people's hamstrings don't really move much. Their glutes don't really move much. And that's because of all that stuff being frozen, because the low back is the hip. If the low back, if I bend over my low back and I stand up with my low back, why do I need my hip? If I don't need my hip, why is it moving? You know what I mean? So, and it's not that they don't move at all, just for some people who are going to be very specific and technical. What I mean by it's not moving is that relative to the low back, it's like the last thing to move. Your hip is one of the last things to move, whereas your low back moves first and the most. So if we can just switch that up to where your first option is your hip, changes everything. So soft tissue work, find your sit bones.
Wow, it's amazing. So Is flow the main thing that you do now personally, or do you also still do the gym, cardio, etc.? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a dancer. I love moving. I dance a lot. I box. I play basketball. I lift weights. I still do all the same things that I used. I just do this before. I'm like, all right,
Yeah.
I'm gonna lift some weights. I better use my butt. Like if I'm gonna do some deadlifts, if I'm gonna do some squats, kind of want to use my butt to do that. I want to use my hamstrings. I want to use my core. I don't want to use my back to pick up some really heavy weight. That's like
Mm,
if you're moving your house, you want to pick up those heavy boxes with your back. You want to pick it up with your butt. You ask anybody that on the street, they're gonna say their butt. They're not gonna say, "Yeah, I wanna use my back to do that. I wanna use my lower back to pick up this really heavy box." When I got these big old glute muscles around my pelvis, and I got this giant torso that I can use to help protect that part of my body.
mm,
Like, it's like, "Oh, yeah, that makes sense." But the problem is, again, the application. Everybody knows everybody knows that they wanna use their hips, they wanna use their butt to pick up heavy stuff. But a lot of people don't know that they're using their back and they think they're using their hip. That's what I mean about the disconnect. That's what I mean about the
mm,
perception. I thought before I found this program that I was a hip mobility god, man. I thought my stuff didn't stink. I thought I really had strong mobile hips. I thought my core was crazy strong. I thought, yeah, I could do whatever I want. And then I met Jordan and he blew my mind and showed me, hey,
mm,
bro, this is what it looks like when your hips are mobile. And
mm,
I couldn't do it. I was nowhere near. When he actually put me into my hip for the first time, I couldn't move. It's like, whoa. When he helped me find my core, I couldn't move. I was like, whoa, what do I do? What do I do? Gotta work
mm,
on it. So it's a huge disconnect when it comes to a perception thing in terms of, all right, this is your actual hip. This is how it feels to actually feel your core. A lot of people, when they think about their core, think about their six pack, their abs. You know,
mm.
they feel like I'll stand up real quick. They feel kind of like this area here, but
Yeah, yeah.
they don't feel that deep intrinsic core that we're referring to. In the program, you'll learn we refer to it as the horseshoe. It's low core. The only way you're gonna get that, the only way you're gonna feel that, and that like when I exhale and you see the waist getting smaller, you see people training their waist get smaller. It is the natural core set. It's called the transverse
Mm,
abdominis. It wraps around the whole abdominal cavity. And when you exhale, if from a three-dimensional perspective, it pulls tighter. And the
mm.
only way that's going to happen is with the exhale. So, yeah.
I suppose because people have been for so long, moving and like sitting or doing whatever they're doing in the way that they have, it's now, am I right by saying like just like muscle memory? Like so this kind of
Yeah.
thing's alien to them. So
Yeah.
so actually it's going to take that time to start to move in this way,
Yeah.
because their body and their brain is used to moving in that way. Is that right?
Bro, that's spot on. That's literally spot on. Exactly. It's very similar to muscle memory. Your body and your brain are connected. They're not different. Your brain is your body, just like your body is your brain. So when you teach your body and your brain to move in a certain way, to connect in a certain way, it adapts. The tissue,
Mm,
quite literally, the tissues in your body adapt to moving. Like, okay, what's moving first, second, third, fourth, fifth? When you do a squat, what's the thing that's moving the most? Then what's after that?
mm,
Then what's after that? Then what's after that? And what's assisting? Your body works in a giant system. We don't have, in reality, it's not a bicep, it's not a tricep, it's not a quad muscle. We are a giant sheet of muscle tissue. Everything is connected, everything in your body. Just like my t-shirt. Watch this real quick. When I pull my t-shirt this way, are all those other pieces staying still or are they following?
mm.
They're following.
So,
If
yeah.
if I pull my t-shirt this way, now I pull my t-shirt that way. It's all interconnected like a giant t-shirt. Your body is, just because I'm moving my arm that way, doesn't mean all this stuff isn't being impacted by me moving my arm that way. When I move that arm that way, as long as this doesn't move, you're gonna feel how that actually is moving, is stretching. But if the low back is moving instead of all this stuff, we don't have to use it. That's the whole point. It doesn't need to get stronger. These areas don't need to actually get stronger if this is getting stronger. The middle of the low back.
One of the sorry to interrupt. One of the things
You're
on the
good.
website that I like is it's like a skeleton, and on each, so like yeah, on like so the, and then like down the spine, and on the skeleton it says like stability. Did you know? Have you obviously you've seen it, and I kind of like that visual
The
because
stability and mobility continuum, is that what you're referring to?
I think so. Yeah. So it's on the website. You have like the skeleton, and then it's got like stability. Like I'll see if I can find it real quick.
Oh, is it with
Um,
like the chains and it's like stable, mobile, stable, mobile, stable, mobile?
yeah, I think so. Yeah. Let me see if I can find it real quick. No, it just kind of highlights of around some of the points you're mentioning. Let me see if I can find it quick.
Sure.
Can you see my screen?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The
Yeah.
stability, mobility continuum. Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
So,
Yes.
so guys, this is so yeah. If you're watching on video, then I'll definitely go over to the website. But this I'm talking about is I like that because it just kind of highlights of each part of the body and yeah, I don't know. It just kind of, when you're talking there, just kind of reminded me of this what's on the site.
Yeah, dude, that's everything, man. That's everything. And you can see where the stability is supposed to be in that middle of the low back, like I was saying, and the mobility
Yeah.
is supposed to be in the T spine. But if those are flopped, it's going to impact everything up and down. You can't be mobile in your low back and in your upper. Like it's like Jordan first or like a bamboo stick. If I'm moving from the middle, the ends are flopping all over the place. But if I move from the ends, now I have control, and that means your upper back and your hip. So you're either
Mm,
mobile up and down or just in the middle. It
mm.
can't be all three.
Can be
So you can only be super mobile here or you're super mobile up and down.
awesome. So to wrap this episode up, do you have any like final thought, tips, inspiration for our you to get started? Obviously, definitely for them to go over to the website. I include the links and all of your links in the description. But yeah, no worries. Do you have any final thoughts, words of inspiration?
Yeah, I mean the biggest thing about this, man, is if this is something that interests you, you've probably tried a lot of other things. You've probably tried a lot of different mobility programs, a lot of, low back pain programs, a lot of rehab programs, and maybe they kind of work but didn't really stick. Maybe they didn't really work at all. Don't give up. Like there is like this is the way. Like this is something that is truly remarkable. And I've been in the fitness industry for about 10 years now, and I haven't come across anything close to this. That's why I've changed everything in my life
Mm,
to be about this, because I need to get this to as many people as possible. This can truly help a lot of people, and you don't need equipment. You don't need
mm,
bands. You don't need a bench. You don't need anything. It's just a chair. We all have chairs. We sit in them all day, for goodness sake. So all you need is a chair and a lacrosse ball. You can change your freaking life. Like I've seen this program. We have a community right now, our Facebook page. I actually just got over 1,000 people, which is crazy. Because dude, not even 2 years ago, it was like maybe 50, 60 people. And now it's at freaking 1,000 people. So it's pretty nuts. It's growing a lot. But take it day by day. Fit whatever you can fit. If you can just do the guided one core activation, do that every day. You can just do the sit bone series, do that every day. And when you get the program, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's very affordable. It's only $25. It's not a lot of money. Just at least just try it. Just freaking try it. It's crazy. It's crazy. Anyway, just do something very, very small. Don't try to like conquer everything. Just take it piece by piece, day by day, and utilize the resources. Utilize the Facebook group. And we have a question service that we do for free with emails that go out every week. So there's a lot of resources to help you succeed. We want to see you succeed, because pretty much everybody that's done this program that's like really excelling, was in
Mm.
some type of pain. The creator of Flobility, Jordan, was in debilitating lower back pain. Just go look at his page and look at what he used to move like, what he used to look like. Man was in pain, lot of pain, and now he's evolved, and that evolution is possible for all of us. It's just hard work. It's just hard work.
Mm. Amazing, man. Well, I'm on that journey as well. Joined the program a couple of weeks ago. So, well, no, last week, a couple of weeks ago. It seems ages ago. It's only last week. There we go. Time goes fast, right? So,
It
yeah,
does.
I'm in the app, and yeah, it's definitely learning a lot. Obviously, as you said earlier about sit bones and everything. So, yeah, I would definitely recommend it to people. I will include all the links in the description. And just thank you once again for joining me today.
Absolutely, man. It's been a pleasure.
And for more after today's show, be sure to head on over to raisingconsciousness.show to get all of the show notes, transcriptions, videos for each episode, and a hell of a lot more. And if you got value from this episode, found it insightful, or learned a thing or two, please leave a review where you can let everyone know that this show is worth checking out. I appreciate you so much. You'll be hearing from me in the next episode.